Welcome back to the Commerce Collective podcast brought to you by Flywheel. You're listening to This Month Above the Fold, a monthly series on the Commerce Collective feed where Patrick Miller, co-founder of Flywheel, covers the most important e-commerce stories each month. And this is your July 2024 recap. And you know what time it is. It is Prime Day recap time. I'm Emma Irwin, brand marketing manager at Flywheel and host of this podcast. Let's get straight into it. Patrick, how are you? How has your month been?
Other than how hot it's been and getting over a bout of COVID, all pretty well.
Incredible. Those are two great things.
It's great things, yeah. It's hot and sweaty, and I had a fever from God knows wherever I picked it up. But bouncing back, and the kids didn't get sick, so well enough.
That is very good. That's a win in my book. All right. Prime Day rolled around, so I need to know, did you end up buying that Camelback water bottle?
Oh yeah, same thing every year. I buy the same thing. I don't know, it's somewhere around here. Showed up. So I bought 2 of them this year.
Oh wow!
And 2 different packages it showed up in. So a little bit of inefficiency on Amazon side, but showed up within like 18, 24 hours, somewhere around there. So it was good experience. And yeah, gonna go for a bike ride later on today and use it.
Heck yeah. Incredible. I do need to know, do you just buy the same color over and over again, or do you have an entire rainbow collection?
Rainbow. Because eventually they wear out, and sort of, they get gross. So, you clean them as long as you can. Eventually you throw them away.
I understand. I have a water bottle that I think I have from freshman year of college, which is now many years ago. And it's gross and I don't use it, but I won't throw it away because I'm like, man, the campus connector bus ran it over a couple of times. It's a memorable piece of squished metal that I just don't want to get rid of.
Keep it.
Yeah, it's got Goldie Gopher's face on it. And so we keep him. All right. This month, shockingly, we're going to cover what we saw happen across Prime Day. And then maybe at the end, we'll get a hot take statement on, that little/large announcement of Google not actually deprecating cookies. But let's begin with what we saw at a very high level this Prime Day. Of course, Amazon put out that it was biggest Prime Day ever, big success, but did not attach an actual overall sales number to it. So what did we/our clients see this year?
So yeah, reading Amazon press releases is typically an exercise in obfuscation and no numbers other than things that are, sort of vanity metrics. But that is what they've always done, and I don't begrudge it. So, so it's impossible to look at sort of comps coming from them. We won't know more until, we see the earnings upcoming. For us, in sort of observations, I think it's a little bit of a tale of 2 cities in the sense of looking at North America versus rest of world, and then looking at Apple, versus rest of brands and sort of how performance was. And so, within, North America, soft, especially on CPG, with some outliers, and then rest of world did really well, but they had easier comps. Apple absolutely crushed it, and sort of, and certainly I think a tell that Apple is chasing revenue just because we've just never seen discounts on current models like we did on Prime Day. But, I think they did excellent. And then there was a lot more automation and personalization on the gateway than we've seen in years past. And that is, on the one hand, it was, kind of nice. It was, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? And it was all stuff I'd browsed at or purchased before. Well, that then creates a cold start problem. And so how do I then discover new things if it's only spinning up things that I've interacted with, which is why sort of insurgent categories, like CPG, I think struggled in driving some of the discoverability there.
I was going to ask you how you personally felt about the homepage being very personalized and if you liked the UX or not, because opening Amazon, and amazingly, I did not buy a single thing from Prime Day this year, but I blame it kind of because of that personalization. It was all little things that I've purchased in the past. And I was like, no, I want to be shown some large home device that I didn't really know that I needed, but the price is so good and I can now see it fitting into my lifestyle. And I'd love to know your kind of take in terms of that homepage personalization. How did that impact brands' performance and what they were expecting?
Yeah. So what I don't know is how much of that decision was based off of, almost 2 years ago, they really underdid it with personalization. And so how much of that is a reaction to say, hey, we have to have more personalization? Or was it brands are pulling back on funding discounts and SOV packages? And so the second order effect of that is well, if a bunch of brands aren't going to come to the table with deep discounts and SOV packages, well, we just have to do more A&P. I don't know, but I think certainly the lack of depth of deal contributed to sort of how these, what was shown. But also it's 300 in 64 days or 63 days of the year, you go to Amazon, for yourself and hey, and you have intent and I need to go do this job and search, click, buy, bounce. On Prime Day and Turkey 5, you go, yeah, you're shopping sometimes for yourself, but you're also shopping for gifts, and you don't have the intent other than I'm looking to find the thing. So it's like if it's just going to be an A&P and it's all based off of my browse or purchase history, well, that's not discoverability, it's reminder. And quite frankly, I find it kind of boring. And so how do they solve the cold start problem of helping me discover something and not just showing me things that I have browsed before? And how do you use that to drive incremental GMV versus just repeat purchases?
And I'm sure something like that kind of had some form of impact to like new to brand percentage for brands that were expecting to see maybe higher new to brand. But if like products are just being sold or shown to the people that purchased them already in the past, that is like just a very different experience than what maybe brands were expecting.
Yeah. And so I also think it's interesting. We did a study last year when we looked at cohorts of NTVs over Prime Day, and then when did they repeat? And they repeated over Turkey 5. And so I'm sort of like, well, it's not necessarily that within CPG that the burn rate, is that it just happens to land on Turkey 5. It's, they're deal seekers. And so I think a big question that if I'm a brand, I want to ask is like, what is the value of this cohort and how much value does this cohort create for me over a much longer period of time, both on the individual ASIN level, the brand itself, and across my entire product portfolio. And so it's one of the interesting things we can do with AMC is we can start to see, well, here are all the people that we were able to sort of add these net new customers or channel shifters, and then see what happens to them over time to come up with a true ROI on the investment during Prime Day or Turkey 5. So I think it's absolutely something brands should be digging into to see if it justifies the discount.
For sure. One of the questions, which I think you already answered it in everything you just said, but one of the questions I was going to ask is the more I think about these deal seekers, like, sure, they provide a sale during deal events, maybe repeatedly, maybe not. But like at the end of the day, what is their actual like long-term value to you as a brand beyond just one person that doesn't really interact with your brand at all, except for on this deal event, maybe makes a purchase, maybe doesn't? Are they really worth investing in all that much?
It's a huge question. In many ways, it was sort of unanswerable before, but with AMC, we can actually look at this, and create cohorts, and see what the behavior looks like. And so it's sort of one, it's different if I'm CE versus CPG, because CE, they're typically just going to buy, one time, maybe they'll buy some accessories later. CPG, you have the potential for asynchronous basket building, but I think in repeat purchases. So I think it depends on sort of brand by brand and also depth of discount. And so one of the things we see is sort of if you discount too much, yeah, you're going to move a whole bunch of units, but you're going to lose a bunch of money. And you're only going to attract people, that are uninterested in buying your brand other than for, a deep discount. So depends on the discount, depends on the brand. And then that is now an analysis we can do to figure that out for everybody.
Perfect. I'm going to shift slightly. I'd love to talk about something that I've been seeing called out across social media and then our own kind of measurement is all about like ASP. So we saw this decrease in media attributed sales fueled by lower ASPs versus last year. But I'm kind of curious, like what do lower ASPs say about how consumers approached Prime Day this year and or how brands came in and approached Prime Day?
So I think with ASP shifts, it's actually it's more driven by the efficiency of Amazon's network and mix shifting to the ability to fulfill orders that are lower ASP than it is necessarily like a deflationary aspect. And so we look at sort of individual items because the network has gotten to be more efficient. It's closer to the customers, the ability to fulfill orders at sort of same day and do it less expensively. And they've said this on their previous earnings calls where customers realize that, hey, they can get, something right away. They're willing to shop additional categories. And so, if I need cough syrup, I need it right now. I don't want to wait, 2 or 3 days. Thus, when I discover that Amazon can do that at such fast speed and inexpensively, then I'm willing to explore it. And so that I'm sure of, and certainly by listening to earnings calls. But I also think that the consumer is stretched, and so we've seen PepsiCo recently come out and talk about how the consumer is stretched. For the longest time, we've seen that impacting discretionary items, but not CPG and non-discretionary. But PepsiCo's statements, I want to say it was a week or two ago, that it tells me that hey, the consumer is stretched, and so if that is the case, they may still want to buy something impulsive on Prime Day, but they're deciding to buy something that is lower price. Now, that all said, Apple was the big winner. And so how much of this is just when they were buying, they were going and buying big Apple device, and that's where all the discretionary went. And then folks, were then just buying, maybe an add-on item, like a Camelback water bottle that was, $8 or something.
I'm curious, in terms of Apple, like I saw their presence across Prime Day, but it's like not unique to us to be calling Apple like a winner across the event, but like, what did they do differently compared to maybe their own competitors / like everyone else that they are getting all of this kind of acclaim for?
So number one, they're extremely disciplined on pricing, and sort of, in whatever their MAP policy is. So they don't discount a lot. So when they do discount, it's a big deal. So, I think they leverage this opportunity by doing discounts across the line to drive, volume. Amazon, for them is, principally, accessories business. So, AirPods, et cetera. And so, sort of high velocity items where people, they don't care if they buy it from, Apple or they buy it from Amazon. But look, this is a string of, Apple, I think, being very smart in sort of their partnerships with retailers. If I look at Walmart, they have a unique SKU, there with a MacBook Air that I want to say is like $50 or $100 less expensive than you can get a MacBook Air. It's an older MacBook that you can get anywhere else. And so, that then drives additional foot traffic, for Walmart, pulls in more affluent customers for Walmart, and allows Apple to continue to be price premium elsewhere. And whether that is, Best Buy, Apple.com, or Amazon, while offering additional selection. And so to me, much of this is a game of selection, and it's inverting how brands think about selection. Whereas historically people would say, hey, I'm a brand, I need to sell into a store. Well, if you have endless aisles, it's actually the retailer that needs to give the brand a compelling reason to list the selection. And I think Apple has been excellent at that discussion, and same thing with their promo strategy.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. Is there anything else that was like rapid fire Prime Day, but is there anything else you're dying to say about Prime Day?
Rest of the world doing very, very well. And so I think as we look at their earning, I mean, they had an easier comp, but rest of the world doing well. And so to me, the thing I want to really look for is, what does the margin look like for non-North America, and what did they get the top line and then hang on to the margin that they reported last quarter? I think is a really interesting question.
Got it. Okay. My last above the fold related question for you is this nice press release that I thought was like a meme making a joke, but it wasn't. Google not actually deprecating the cookies. And I feel like I have to get your take since I have you on the microphone right here, right now.
They reported earnings yesterday. The DSP business continues to decline, and also, I think surprisingly, YouTube declined. And so, or YouTube did not decline. It decelerated. And so I think there's one, a question of prioritization. Two is Amazon via Prime Video taking share from YouTube? I don't know. We're going to find out soon. And then, within the cookie, it's like, how much of this is because of regulatory pressure? How much of this is because it is a business that is declining and they see sort of green shoots elsewhere? And how much of this is just saying, hey, you know what, like how, Apple implemented ATT worked just fine, throw it into the consumer's hand, and then we're just going to figure it out as we go. I don't know. And also the challenge of open web, it's margin dilutive compared to their O&O properties. And so in certain ways, if customers opt out and they say, sort of like, what they do with ATT, and then they're only logged in, you can only, see it on their O&O sites, all of a sudden they become much more lucrative to Google. And so, but the customer's deciding it's not Google. So by making this a customer choice, this may help them with some of their regulatory challenges. But then also allows them to sort of increase the margin on and the growth on the businesses that are more lucrative to them, as opposed to sort of the open web, which is going to be margin dilutive compared to their other business lines, i.e. YouTube or core search.
Got it. All right. I think that is everything for you. My absolute last question for you is that I am looking at like a professional grade microscope behind you, and I really would love to know like what you're looking at. What are you doing with that?
I know, it's not me. It's my wife's a scientist, so it's oftentimes here to my right, but I have the mic and the water bottle, so yeah, it's over there right now. So it allows me to look like I'm smarter than I am.
Incredible. We love it. And that's it for this month's e-commerce news. Tune into next month's episode for the latest and greatest everything you need to know in the world of e-commerce. I'm Emma Irwin, and I will see you next time.